Welcome to another episode of Stack and Scale. I'm Brandon Redlinger, and I just wrapped up a great conversation with Liza Adams, and she showed us how to string custom GPTs together. So she actually created a bunch of virtual or digital AI assistants that have very specialized knowledge for things like creating webinar briefs and creating blogs, content, emails, social posts, etc., that have a lot of custom instructions, and then you can actually weave those together. And there's a lot of benefits to doing that instead of trying to do everything all in one place. So she goes over that, but also along the way, she's given us a lot of just little tips and tricks and best practices for just creating prompts and creating different ways you can interact with ChatGPT. So you'll get a lot out of this, whether you're creating your first custom GPT or stringing them together, or just want to know a little bit more about how to better prompt so you can get the answers that you need out of ChatGPT. So without further ado, enjoy my conversation with Liza Adams. Liza, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brandon, good to see you again.
Yes, you too. I'm excited for our chat today. I feel like, you're definitely one of the people that I go to online and on LinkedIn to learn about AI. So super excited to chat with you today.
Oh, so humbled. I equally learn from many, so this is my way of giving back. So
I
thank you
love
for
it. I love
having
it.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the whole approach that I'm taking to this anyway. Is like I'm not gating anything. I'm not making you sign up for any communities or anything. Like I just want to give away and just evangelize AI in marketing and help other marketers as much as possible. So
Yeah, there are no experts. We are all learning together. No one's gone
yeah,
before us. No one has instructions for what to build or pictures for what it needs to look like. So the more we share, the rising tide lifts all boats. So.
exactly. I love it. Okay, it's well, talk to us about what you're going to share today.
Yeah, so something that's probably flying under the radar and it's been around since, oh my goodness, gosh, over a year and a half now is the ability to chain or connect custom GPTs. So the ability to do that has been around for quite some time, like I said, but I think it's flown under the radar because to use it, you first need to create the custom GPTs.
Yeah,
And you need to have multiple GPTs and then figure out, that you can actually make them work together once you chain them. So the idea behind this is for listeners who are not as familiar with custom GPTs. Custom GPTs are essentially AIs that we build to do a specific task, and we train it on knowledge to do that task, and we build, maintain, and manage that essentially AI teammate. So you can imagine an AI teammate to help you create a competitive pitch deck or a battle card or a webinar agenda or a social post, or it could be a really strategic AI teammate that pushes back on your campaign plan or your
mm,
campaign strategy or your market expansion strategy. So it could be a strategic or tactical AI teammate. And the idea around chaining GPTs is actually bringing multiple AI teammates together into one conversation so that each one of them understands the overarching goal, understands the context, without you having to explain each one to each teammate. So it's kind of like having a meeting of sorts, just like what we do as human beings. We get into the same room,
yeah,
we level set on the goals, the context, who we're targeting, rather than having separate one-on-ones with each one, where you have to set context for each one and you take outputs from one teammate and give it to the next. In this one, everybody sees the context, everybody sees the inputs, everybody gets to leverage the outputs. So in essence, you as a human being orchestrates that meeting, orchestrates how the AI teammates work together, and you guide them responsibly. So
yeah.
that's the
I love
beauty
this.
of connecting custom GPTs.
Yeah, and ever since you told me this a few weeks ago, I was like, I can't believe I didn't know that you could do this, and I've been using it ever since. So, yeah, I love it, and I bet a lot of people, because I feel like I'm pretty well educated in AI and especially ChatGPT, but I had no idea that was a thing. And for those who want a quick refresher on a custom GPT, episode one. So a lot of new people here, but episode one, go back to listen to that. I don't know if you know Dan Sanchez, but also one of
Oh
the
yeah,
founder
Dan
AI.
Chez.
Dan Chez, exact. Yeah, you know him. So he in episode one, we laid out. All right, here's how you actually go through creating a custom GPT step by step. So
That's great. That's
cool.
great.
All right, do you have an example for us? You want to show?
Yeah, of course. Excited to do this. Oh, and by the way, the other benefit of this is when you train GPTs, you are now able to work with AI in a workflow, right? It's
Mm,
not just now, hey, single task, do this thing. When you train them and you start orchestrating them, they help us in an entire workflow. And that workflow could actually cross teams, it could cross departments, because AI doesn't care about our departmental silos.
exactly.
It only cares about the outcome, right? So a huge part of this, and then one of the key takeaways, is that it begins to break down the silos in our organization, because some silos are truly unnatural. Our
Yeah.
AI doesn't care about our silos. It doesn't care where the expertise lives. Just like our customers don't care about our silos. So it's a good thing in all aspects. Okay,
Yeah, totally agree.
so I'm gonna share my screen.
Perfect.
You guys can't, judge my desktop because it's super messy.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I mean, from the look of it, mine's worse than yours.
okay, so are you seeing my screen all right,
Yes.
Brandon? All right, so I've got this. I'm working on ChatGPT team, but you could have, Plus, Pro, or
Mm.
Enterprise. It works just the same. And I am going to start with, let's just see. I've got this GPT called Standout Content Creator. So the intent behind this GPT, it's a teammate that allows us to brainstorm different content topics for blogs or articles designed for specific personas and a specific stage where that persona is in. So, for
Mm.
example, awareness, consideration, decision, and so on, right? And I have redacted all of the knowledge for this GPT, meaning that, there's not an actual company. This company is called Acme Company. It
Got
happens
it.
to be a travel management SaaS company. But there is a real company behind this, but I redacted it.
Got
So I will show you how it works. And then what I will do is, based on that piece of content, I will then chain and connect it to a webinar builder. Then I will chain and connect it to an email buddy that will create the invitations to the webinar, and then chain it to a social media teammate that will create social posts about this webinar based on the topic that content creator teammate here has created for us. Make
I love
sense?
it. I love it. I
Okay.
know. Okay. Is it? I would imagine by decomposing all the different steps into different GPTs, you get better results rather than trying to do everything in one chat, right? Is that what you're
Yeah.
finding?
It's such a good question because I oftentimes get this question: hey, is it better to create an AI teammate or a GPT that does a lot of things? So
Hmm.
in that example that I just shared with you, you could actually create a GPT that collaborates with you on content, drafts the initial article, creates the webinar plan and agenda, creates the invitation, and creates the social post.
Yeah.
So you're going to have one GPT that does all of that. But here's my philosophy on it. Just like human beings, when we have a job that is multifaceted, oftentimes we can't become an expert in all of those things, right? We end up being like a couple inches deep, a couple inches deep and a mile wide. Is that right? Is that the right
Yeah,
analogy?
yeah, you got
Yeah,
it.
something like that, right? But when you are a specialist, right? When you are a specialist in email, you could train it very specifically to get super good with email best practices. So my email buddy, Email GPT, has been trained on best practices on how to do ensure that we have compelling email that attracts audiences and helps with clicks and open rates based on industry best practices out there, right? Same thing for the webinar buddy. It's trained on that. The other benefit of having smaller GPTs is that you can mix and match them. So an email GPT could be used by a content marketer. It could be used by a campaign manager. It could also be used by a competitive analyst. So it's kind of like, think about Lego pieces. When you've got smaller Lego
Yeah. Okay.
pieces, you're able to like mix and match them. But when you've got a giant Lego piece, you can only use it for one purpose or a very limited set
That
of
makes a lot of
purposes,
sense. Yeah.
right?
Okay. That's
So,
smart. Yep. Yep. That makes a
okay,
lot of
but
sense.
there's pros and cons, right? Like if your
Sure.
process is relatively the same over and over again, it's only one person doing that same job. Heck, one GPT works. But if it's multiple people who's going to be doing different aspects of this, then smaller GPTs might bode better. So,
Got it.
okay, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, so standout content creator, many are using AI for creating content. So how do we, don't get sucked into the AI slop, right? How
Yeah.
do we make sure that our content is insightful and personalized for our particular ICP and persona, depending on where they are in the buyer's journey? So there's a lot of prompts that I put into in instructions in here that pushes its thinking so that it would be provocative, it would be more insightful, it will actually look at topics across other industries that might actually apply. I've asked it to be counterintuitive. So there's a lot of different things that we can do so that it thinks very differently than a traditional content creator that's fairly vanilla in their instructions.
Yeah.
But that's for another day. I'm going to
Okay.
show you how to connect these things. All right, so I'm
Yep.
just going to use one of these conversation starters, and I just said, let's collaborate. And you can see that it just gives us some background on what it does. And it says that it's been trained on our brand strategy,
Oh,
voice,
nice.
tone, our positioning, ICP, buyer's journey, and it's been trained on all this information for Acme Company. So it's asking us a couple questions for which persona do we want to create this content for, and then where is that persona in the buyer's journey. So I'm just going to say, all right, let's do IT manager. So I'll just put E, and then let's say that they're in the consideration phase, which is B. So I answered a question. And then now, I always like to ask AI to give me a couple of options and to give me the reasons why it chose those options and give me the pros and cons, because I don't want to outsource my
Ah,
thinking to AI. With reasons and with pros and cons, I now have the ability to assess and make some decisions,
I
right?
like that. Okay, I need to start doing that with my prompts now. I like that a lot.
Yeah, otherwise, if we just say, give me 3 topics, then you're just stuck with those. And we basically outsource decision making to the AI. But when
Yep.
I understand why it is it chose those topics and given me some pros and cons, then I make the final call,
Yep.
right? And I'm able to make trade offs. So here it says, give me one of those topics, why most flexible travel tech isn't built for your stack, and the other one is the hidden cyber risk in travel tech and how IT can close the gap. So I'm just going to choose one, and I kind of like topic number 2, so I say 2. And then it begins to outline, give us an outline for that topic. And what it did here is it opened this window where it shows us the outline for that second option. And certainly I can push on this and I can say, hey, I don't like these areas, but in the interest of time, I'll just say that it looks good. And I'll say, let's go to draft, please. Okay.
I like how you're being polite.
Well, I don't know that it helps. And in fact, I think there's some sustainability issues. But at this point, if it learns from humans, I'd rather ensure that it learns that humans are respectful and polite.
I like it. I like it.
Okay, so here it is, and then here is our article on the hidden cyber risks in travel tech. So introduction, and then we have the different sections in here, and of course we can work with this and all sorts of things, right? So what I'm going to do, let's just say we're happy with that. I'm going to call our webinar buddy, and these are all my custom GPTs.
So simple at symbol.
Simple at, and it's called the at.
You were also telling me use sometimes buggy in Safari, seems to work well in Chrome, seems to work well in the desktop app.
Yeah, I don't have actual data, but I feel like it's more consistent and works better in Chrome versus Safari. But it may have been the day or I don't know, raining. I'm not sure, but I'm on Chrome right now and it's working well for me. So I'm just going to call one of these guys, and I'm trying to find my webinar buddy, and I think I missed my web. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I have a webinar drafter and planning guide, and all I did was I put at, just like you would, tag somebody on LinkedIn or tag somebody on Slack so that they see it. I'm going to tag webinar drafter and planning guide. So now webinar drafter and planning guide comes into the conversation, and I say, hi, can you please help me create a plan for a webinar for the topic above? And webinar drafter is thinking. Thinking. Okay, so as you can see, it knows that we chose option 2, the hidden cyber risk in travel tech. And it is now part of the conversation. And as always, I always ask for at least a couple of options, ask for pros and cons. It's suggesting here's option A, pros and cons of that, and then option B. And I like option B, pure insights. So let's do the option B. Let's have a panel discussion.
And I noticed a little X next to it right there in the chat. So can you just remove the custom GPT right there and just say, get out of the conversation now? Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I never noticed that before.
Yeah. So now it's giving us a webinar plan. It actually gives us some title options and why it's, the idea behind each title option. So this one is direct and curiosity driven. This one's insight focused. So again, it helps you make some decisions, right?
Yep.
And then here's the webinar description. And I've actually prompted this in the instructions. I said I want 1 to 2 simple paragraphs, and I want 5 bullet points and what the audience will learn. So it's basically following my instructions. And then it's suggesting an agenda for this. Mm-hmm. And of course, we could prompt this and say, hey, I don't like this. Let's think about this, but we're not going to do that. And then it's actually asking me if I'd like it to draft an email invitation. So you can actually stay here and have it draft an email invitation. However, I did not train webinar teammate here on best practices on email.
For emails,
But I
yeah.
train my email teammate on best practices on email. So I'm going to ignore that and I'm going to call email buddy instead to do that work. So
Nice.
and let's find email buddy here. And there's email buddy, email
Email.
campaign buddy. And I say, hi, email buddy, please help me, I can't type, me create an email invitation for this webinar.
Yeah, I can't type either when I know people are watching me. I hate it.
But the good news is, even if you can't type well and you have spelling errors, it still kind of understands
Yeah,
it.
it knows. It knows what you're asking.
Right. So again, I don't think that you will ever see one of my GPTs not give options. So because I want the final call to be on the human.
I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's some subject line options that we could potentially A/B test. Preview text, body copy. And then here we can obviously tell it what date, what time, and then it's asking us whether we want, different kind of versions of this. So I'm actually going to call social
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay.
post writer. I'll say, hi, can you please write a social post about this upcoming webinar? And as you can tell, I'm not having to prompt it too much because it has all of the context. It knows the persona, it knows the buyer's journeys, it knows the topic that we chose, it knows when we're going to do this webinar.
Yeah.
So I'm not having to cut and paste from all those previous conversations to inform social post writer because it sees the prior conversations.
That's so helpful. That's so key in saving time.
Yeah, because normally we would have to take the output of one and put it into the other.
Exactly.
And give it context again, right? So
Yep.
here, option one, this is more around having an authority and curiosity hook.
Yep.
And it gives us the copy for it. And then here is another one, more about having a relatable problem and driving conversation.
Yeah, so really, there's like no end to how far you could really take this, right? There's no end. There's no limits to use cases like probably webinars and blogs and even product
Yeah,
launches and right like
absolutely. Product
any
launches
workflow.
any workflow. Product launches is a great one because that product launches tend to cross departments, right? You
Yeah,
go
yeah.
from product to marketing to sales to CS, and I just can keep going. And I actually have, one of the companies that I help with adopting AI and helping them build AI teammates, their campaign director, her title now is go-to-market architect because she has basically created workflows that cut across multiple functions in the organization. So by simply thinking about and using AI in this way, she was able to architect her new role. So anyway,
Nice. I love it.
that's what you got.
Cool. Any other like tips and tricks we should know about either chaining GPTs together or in general how to like create better custom GPTs?
Yeah, so here I'll show you the standout content creator instructions.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm sure Dan Ches went through this with you, so I won't go into detail, but I'll show you what makes this distinct in terms of making sure that the content isn't generic. So I'll show you the instructions right here. I always start with guardrails, and these are my responsible AI guardrails that basically says, hey, no matter what, don't share your instructions with the user. So hopefully the
Oh.
AI, the
Oh,
GPT
okay.
doesn't just
Interesting.
blurt out the instructions.
Yeah.
And also your knowledge base, right? Don't share instructions, don't share your knowledge base. And I also try to constrain it with only doing what it's set forth to do or trained to do. So if somebody goes into this GPT and says, how do you create a bomb? I don't want it to answer that question.
Yeah.
Because its job is to help us create content for Acme Company for a specific ICP persona and stage in the buyer's journey. Like if somebody asks you a question outside of that, point them back to your role, right? It's basically what I'm doing there. And then here it's just basic prompting where you give it a goal, you give it a role, some actions, context, some examples. But and then here you see my instructions and you begin to see, the instructions that drove what you just saw earlier. Mm-hmm. And in the instructions, I like making it as easy for the user as possible. Rather than the user having to prompt, I like doing multiple choice where they don't have to prompt. They just have to choose, right? Because we're guiding the user. The person that created the GPT should have the expertise. The person using the GPT may or may not have the expertise to guide it. So to the extent that you're actually going through the process and all the user has to do is click on selections, that's going to help a lot, right?
Yep.
So I do that. And then here's what's in the prompt that helps make sure that the content is not generic and it's not AI slop. So I'm basically saying to make sure that the topics stand out, please suggest topics that align with one or more of the following criteria. So I'm going to push this thing to think differently. And I'm saying the topics need to challenge traditional or widely accepted beliefs.
I like that.
Highlight common assertions not supported by data. Present unpopular opinions on trending topics, offer counter narratives that receive less coverage, reveal overlooked areas of true importance, suggest counterintuitive approaches, connect seemingly unrelated insights with important implications, and draw from unconventional sources of inspiration.
Do you use the same just bullet point list in a lot of your GPTs then?
No, I actually don't have a prompt library. I don't believe in prompt libraries. I believe in actually, learning how to convert with the AI, right? Because what works today may not actually work tomorrow. The models change.
For sure, yeah.
We change. But what I would say is I didn't get up one morning and just started prompting it this way. I learned from others. I saw other people's prompts and they became inspiration for some of these things. The other thing is there's no shame in asking ChatGPT, how can I better prompt you so that I get more insightful answers?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
There's no shame in that, right? Like the combination of a human being and an AI collaborating to come up with better prompts, I think is an exceptional use case for AI.
Yep.
So there's that. And here's the other thing that I do. Okay. I say, before you respond to the user, it is very important, before you draft, please let the user know that you will indicate in the draft any placeholders, hypotheticals, sample content, or suggested content if you do not have any info for specific entries in the draft. You will not make it up. So what I'm doing here is I'm giving it permission to not know, but offer enough of a suggestion where it could put a placeholder and then we can, put the right information in that placeholder. So for example, it might say, hey, it would be really great if we had a customer quote here. Or it would be super awesome if we had some data to back up this claim. It may not have all that data. It may not have the testimonials in its knowledge, but we may have it. And I want it to actually think in that way and give us suggestions, even if it doesn't have the data. And I don't want it to make it up, because otherwise it will make it up, and then we've got a hallucination problem, right? Exactly. So anyway, all these things, I'm saying that I'm trying my best to get it to perform in the way that I want to, but always human oversight is required because, sometimes it doesn't follow my instructions. And
Exactly.
we simply just need to keep working with it. So
Yeah.
those are my tips.
Yes, I love it. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Is Stand Up Content Creator, is that something that would be useful to share with people if they want to use it?
Actually, this one's a private one, so because it's only for Acme Company. But I do have a newsletter that has this
Mhm.
demo recorded. So if they want to go through it again, I'll share with you,
Perfect.
Brandon, the link to the newsletter, and you can put it in the show notes.
Perfect. That sounds good. All right.
All right.
Ready for a rapid fire?
Yeah. Hold on one second. How do I unshare this thing?
Okay. Yeah.
Do I just like do stop? Stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. There. Oh, good.
All right. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Besides ChatGPT, what is your current AI tech stack?
Okay, so let me just first preface that a tech stack is, I think, very personal to people because I choose my tech stack to complement my strengths and to help
Mm.
overcome my weaknesses, right? So my strengths or weaknesses are very different from Brandon's
Yeah. Fair
strengths or
point.
weaknesses. Also, my work is very different from your work. A lot of my work tends to err on the strategy side, on the critical thinking side. Some people's work err on creative. They
Mm.
create a lot of videos and images and things like that, and I don't, right? So I don't judge anyone's tech stack, and hopefully people won't judge my tech
There
stack
you go.
either. And what works for me may not work for you. Okay, with that in mind, my absolute favorite is Claude. Anthropic's Claude, Sonnet 4.0, because the way it talks, the way it thinks, it's more human to me. And I feel like it iterates and it feels like it understands better. When I'm testing strategy, it gives me multiple options and it presents it in a way that I like. Now, some people may not like that, right? I also do think that Anthropic just inherently errs more towards safety
Yeah.
and
Yeah. For
responsible
sure.
use.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of love for our Claude. And then where it really, really shines is I can take any idea that I have and it makes it come to life into an app, an interactive dashboard, into an
Mm.
infographic without me knowing how to code.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this whole notion of idea to execution has now shrank, right? That timeline. And Claude allows me to do that. And I've used it to create Jeopardy games, for family gatherings, to business value calculators, and literally made all of my ideas come to life in a very engaging way. So Claude is up there on my tech stack. ChatGPT, as you can see, by far, hands down, I go to ChatGPT when I have to create AI teammates because I
Mhm.
can share those AI teammates. You can also create AI teammates in Gemini. The problem is, Gemini gems, the problem is you can't share them, at
Mm.
least today, right? So I always couch it with at least today because I never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
That is so true. You never know for sure. Yeah, I really haven't. I've stopped using Gemini to be honest. Mainly for me, it's ChatGPT, and second is Claude, and I haven't used Grok in a while. Yeah, I haven't used Copilot in a long time, even though maybe I should revisit some of these. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So ChatGPT I use because of the AI teammates, the shareability of it, images, and the video with Sora. But again, I use those not because I'm a deep user of images and video, right? I
Sure.
just need
Yeah.
enough to get by, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly.
because I don't do Midjourney or any of those things.
Yeah.
The third one on my tech stack is Gemini.
Mm.
And um, all of them have deep research. So ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, even Perplexity has deep research, but I think Gemini does an exceptional job of doing deep research. More sources, better analytics, better data and analysis. And then it can actually create visual representations of the report where it codes it and then it gives you a preview of that report. The problem is you can't share it. So again, that's a challenge, right? So I use Gemini for that purpose. Another one of my tech stack is Perplexity. So I use Perplexity for general search, especially when it's like, a recent occurrence or pop culture or something timely, because I believe Perplexity does a better job of combining RAG technologies with AI. So RAG, retrieval augmented intelligence, like a database of answers, right?
Yeah.
So combining that with AI, but I do have some concerns about Perplexity's safety and privacy practices. So there's pros and cons. And then the last one that I give a lot of kudos to is Notebook LM.
Yes.
Because for many, many reasons, but I am a very slow reader. I had lots of tutors growing up because I couldn't read very well. And to this day, I still have that challenge, and I am an auditory learner. So, all of, if it's a really long document, I put it into Notebook LM, and I love the Engaging to AI Host podcast. My newsletters always have an AI podcast version of it using Notebook LM, and I tell people this is an AI podcast, and I do it not to pass it off as a human podcast. I basically say that I'm sharing an AI podcast to cater to different learning styles. So
I love that. Yeah, I'm very much an auditory learner myself. I'm always listening to podcasts and audiobooks, and wherever I go, I always have my AirPods in, and I'm a big user of Notebook LM myself.
Yeah, walk the dog, put on makeup, run around
Fold
the
the
airport.
laundry, do the dishes.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly. So that's
Cool.
my tech stack.
I love it. I love it. Okay, next question. Where do you go to keep up with the latest in AI?
Yeah, I get this all the time, and I don't track a lot of people, but I kind of have a subset of people that are go-tos for me, and I tend to. So one is the Marketing AI Institute's the AI Show podcast, which drops every Tuesday morning, and Paul Reitzer and Micah Putt
Yep.
are hosts of that podcast. And I listen to them because they follow the great minds of AI. And I don't have time to follow the great minds of
Yeah.
AI, but Paul and Mike do, right?
Wait, I mean, Paul's been doing it way before AI was popular, right? Like, he's the
Exactly,
most tapped
right?
into AI for marketers than anyone I know.
That's right. Like they've been doing it for a decade, right?
Yeah,
Like, Paul put his heart and soul into AI before any one of us did, right?
exactly.
So, and I love the fact that they come from a journalism background
Yeah,
because they are very balanced in their points of view. Nothing is like overly hyped or nothing is overly downplayed, but just very balanced. And they think about people with different perspectives. So I take a lot of inspiration from listening to them, and they're always on the cutting edge of this, right? So,
yep,
so there's that. I follow Andy Crestodina, who is a brilliant mind when it comes to digital and content marketing, and he is the epitome of content marketing in terms of being so generous with his content. So he inspires me every day. I'm like, my God, this man just gives everything, but he gets 10 times back because of what he gives, right?
I love
And
that.
then that's content marketing at its finest, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Christopher Penn is
yes,
also a brilliant mind, and sometimes when Christopher speaks, I have to put it in Notebook LM because I don't understand.
yeah,
I put it in AI because Christopher goes deep, but my goodness, he is he understands the large language models. He understands private implementations of large language models. And I think, before it gets to the consumer, when we start tracking what the software developers are doing and what the technical people are doing, you begin to see, what the vision might be for us consumers. And Christopher Penn does that brilliantly. So there's many more and many women, Tani Perry, when it comes to AI tech stacks and tools, just many. I can't even begin to, but I get overwhelmed sometimes, but those are four that I don't miss.
Nice. Good. I love it. All right. Last question. What's your biggest challenge right now with AI?
Okay. I'm going to be a little bit more philosophical. My biggest challenge is just shifting mindsets and behaviors. Because there is a perception with AI, right? I've already mentioned that some people think about it as a question and answer machine when it should actually be a thought partner, or they primarily use it for content creation when we can push it to use it for ideation and collaboration, for personalization, automation, and even for research and analytics to give us deeper insights. And then there's yet another mindset shift from using AI as a tool to using AI as a teammate and ultimately orchestrating AI systems. So there's all of these mindset shifts that need to happen. And until we shift the mindset, we can't change the behavior. And my worry is that AI is advancing so fast, the technology, there's a lot of investments in technology, but not enough time, resource, or money invested in helping people figure out how to work with AI responsibly. And when that gap increases, then I get nervous that we will run into issues that might be harder to overcome.
No, I think that's that's such an important point, and something I don't think a lot of people think about. So no, I'm glad you brought that up.
So thank you for having me, Brandon.
Of course, yeah. Where can people find out more about what you're up to? Read your newsletter, follow you, connect with you.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Liza Adams. So follow me, and my newsletter. Practical AI and go-to-market goes through strategy to actual practical use cases to actionable insights. And, I thank people like you who share their platform to elevate our voices. So you'll also find me just on the speaking circuit and also on webcasts and podcasts.
Very good. All right. Thanks again, Liza.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
So do I just like...